It's a big week for us. It's an exciting week. Obviously, a big game tomorrow night against Missouri State. And as we all know, those in-state games are, records and stats and everything else go out the window. And, it's kind of a somewhat of a bragging right game. I feel I understand that locker room as a mid-major when I was at Illinois State, and, you got a chance to play Illinois and things like that, and the motivation that goes behind it. So really, really important that we're going to have to be on point against a good Missouri State team and very well-coached team. So we understand what's in front of us before we move on to K-State for sure.
When it comes to that state or that Missouri State game, I know last year you kind of said it was part of the home and home. Are your plans to continue that home and home?
Every year I say I'm not playing it anymore, but I think that honestly, in the big picture, we've had some really good battles, and I think it's the right thing to do. I think those kind of games are really fun for, just our fans and several players that typically play against each other or with each other in high school or AAU ball, and so a lot of familiar names and faces. And so I do think it's really important for the sport, despite how I feel, sometimes after playing those in-state games.
Coach, you always say that you want your team to lead the nation in league improvements. What do those improvements look like this week, and how do you plan on executing them against Missouri State?
Yeah, so this time of the year, you don't get a lot of practice time, so really important that I think those film sessions and making sure we're not watching the same thing over and over again in those film sessions. We continue to try to shore up our transition defense that I think we've made a lot of strides in. And so we started with that, and then we moved on to the rebounding. I thought we really battled well against a physical Virginia team last week and did a decent job, I thought, for the most part against SEMO. It's going to continue to be a point of emphasis for us for sure. And then really honing in on our half-court defense and just our ability to put out fires, our rotations. Sometimes we just, get stuck on that one-on-one accountability and nobody's in that second line of defense, and those rotations aren't where they need to be. And so just continuing to watch film and work on those kind of things.
When you look at what Mama's been able to do to start this season, what do you feel like it was that maybe allowed her to take that next step for what we see this season?
Yeah, so excited for her and happy for her. I think I've mentioned this before, but in all of her years here at Mizzou, she's never been here during the summer months with us, and I think that's where the majority of that individual improvement happens. I think anytime you have players that have an opportunity to represent their national teams, it's really important that you support them. But playing in those type of games is just different than the skill work that takes place in the off season. And so she was with us for the majority of June and July, and I thought those were two really big months, not only for her skill development, but also just the chemistry and being a point guard and getting to know so many new players on our team. But I think she's playing with a lot of confidence. I think she's really good when she's got the ability to get out and transition, and just a selfless player. I think making the pass is just as important to her as making the shot, but she's done a much better job for us finishing this year too. Statistically in practices, she's around 50% at the rim, so much better than she had been. There's still times, I think, with a player like her that's so explosive when she gets that window and that opportunity to get to the paint. Just the importance of playing with pace. A lot of times you'll see those run-through layups, and so we're really trying to work on playing with pace at the rim and elevating versus running through those shots. But overall, I think she's just grown up. She's matured. She's really, I think, found her voice from a leadership standpoint. So seeing a lot of really good things from her.
When you look back at what Hannah was able to do, getting into the starting five there, what did you like that you saw from Hannah at her start?
Yeah, I think just her energy, really unfortunate with Angie. We could have used her in that second half against Virginia, but I just think her energy she elevates everybody just because of her motor and her presence. I mean, you watch her on the sidelines in practice. We call them action between the action clips. And she is just so invested in everybody on that court. She plays really hard. I think she's got the ability to get out and create some things for us in transition, and that doesn't result in her scoring, but it forces teams to decide, am I going to help out on that rim run, and that's going to leave open a perimeter player for a rhythm three, or are we going to guard her one-on-one inside? And, I think defensively, just her length and her ability to disrupt shots, we still need her to, play a little bit more physical, and there's plenty of things to work on. But I think for a freshman, the minutes that she's playing have been really, really good for us.
Robin, you mentioned last week that your freshmen don't have time to be freshmen, which I thought was a really interesting comment. How have you seen, Grace and Abby kind of shoulder that challenge?
Can you repeat that? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
just that they don't have time to be freshmen. Just
Yeah.
how have you seen them sort of shoulder that the difficulty?
Yeah, the interesting thing about our freshman class is, especially the three of them that were with us in June and July, they didn't come in on their heels whatsoever. They came in and started competing from day one. And Abby's a little bit more vocal than Grace, but just in their play, in their confidence. The minute they stepped on the court in June, I was so impressed with just their motors and high basketball IQ, but also just their work ethic, their investment outside of practices. So I don't think they were really planning on coming in and being a typical freshman either. I mean, they wanted to come in and help elevate the program and just seize the moment and seize the opportunity that they were going to have.
Obviously, with Grace, the start that she's had to her career, obviously people start to compare her to another really talented freshman that came in from the state of Missouri, Sophie.
Yeah.
What do you think about those comparisons?
Well, first of all, I think it would be a compliment. I mean, Sophie's one of the best players to ever play here, and so well respected, and is playing at a really high level, obviously in the W. But I think for Grace, she really doesn't get caught up in the comparison game. I think that's just kind of. I don't even know if she's aware that people say that, and if she does, I don't think she thinks anything about it. I think they're two different type of players. Their numbers might be, similar early so far in their freshman year, but I don't think Grace is a young lady that gets caught up in any of that. She's just a young lady that works really hard at her craft and, wants to fill whatever role we need out of her, to help our team. So this freshman class is mature beyond their years. They just show up. They work really, really hard, not only on the court, but in their film sessions and taking care of their bodies. We're really blessed to have them.
Coach, you said after the last game that you think Hilka has a lot of potential and that she just needs to get some more reps. What do you want to see out of her going forward?
Yeah, we need to continue to throw her out there. I think she has a really high ceiling. Unfortunately, when she got here, she was recovering from a bit of an injury, and so and she wasn't here during June and July, which I think kind of put her behind a little bit. But I think her game resembles a Grace Slaughter's. She's got the ability to attack off the bounce. Maybe not the same type of back to the basket game as Grace yet, and we haven't seen that out of Grace in games, but we do in practice. She needs to get more physical, and I think just the opportunity to be out there on the court is going to build her confidence and to get those kind of reps. But I think she's got a really high ceiling. She's long, she moves pretty well. She's got to get comfortable with the physicality. That's probably the biggest part of it.
I know you mentioned the physicality when I talked to Abby Schreck. She also mentioned physicality being an issue when coming to the collegiate game. Well, how do you think some of these freshmen can get acclimated to that physical nature and just really make strides to kind of building up that body and playing at that strong collegiate level?
Yeah, I think Virginia was a really good eye-opener for our players. When we're talking about the physicality, it's one thing when it's, practice and with our scout guys and there's no officials. But I think it's another to really experience that environment. And so I think that was huge for our team and a huge eye-opener. And, I don't think it comes natural quite yet, but, they're learning that if you don't make the first contact, somebody else is going to, and then you're going to be out of position. And so the importance of playing low, being assignment correct, the positioning on everything that we do on the defensive end, and the physicality that comes into it and from a rebounding standpoint. And, that's going to be huge for us. But I think they're quick learners, and they're starting to embrace it and actually kind of enjoy it.
Is there any update on Angie?
Yeah, not yet. Day to day until we get a further evaluation. So we'll see what happens with that. Definitely saying my prayers on that one.
Yeah.
When you look at Missouri State, what do you feel like are kind of some of the keys to the game and, coming out of the other end with the win this year?
Yeah, so I think we're in a really position of really trying to focus on building from our last couple games and just, making sure transition defense, they can get out and go in transition. And so we've got to be on point with our communication. I think our half-court defense, I thought we had longer stretches of really good half-court defense and rotations, but we haven't sustained it for 40 minutes. There's too many breakdowns yet, and so we've got to continue to hone in on that. And then our rebounding. I mean, those are the three big things that we continue to talk about. But for Missouri State, I think they've got, They like to play in transition. They've got some bigs that are really athletic. They do a nice job around the rim. They're really good post-to-post passers. And they run a lot of action. And so just that communication defensively of being assignment correct and understanding how we're guarding certain screening actions.
You talk about being big, they're bigs, around the rim type stuff. It's not going to be an easy challenge without Angie, but you have players like Haley Frank, Abby Fight. What are you expecting to see from them around the rim specifically to shut down the Bears?
Yeah, one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet, but we've talked a lot about too is, just a lot of times on screening action, not getting touched. A lot of times we're running into things versus avoiding. And at the same time, just the importance of angles. We can't allow those deep sealed duck-ins where there's not positional help. And so making sure we jam up those post players early. But again, I think it's we're making strides, but we're not quite where we want to be. I think we've got a lot of different players that, can help us out. I think we're at our best when we go a little bit deeper into our bench and keep fresh legs.
Missouri State's kind of the start of a really interesting December. Obviously, the Bears, then you go K-State, Illinois, KC. What does this month kind of represent for you guys in terms of figuring out some of the things, getting to where you want to be?
Yeah, I think there's some really cool opportunities, and I'm excited. I've said this so many times. You guys are probably tired of hearing it, but I absolutely love this team. They're so fun to, I can't wait to get to practice every single day. They just work so hard and, are so hungry to really just continue to grow and learn. And we've really tried to stay where our feet are. And so we haven't even talked about, the big picture of what the month looks like, but the opportunities that we have in front of us, and they know the importance of just taking it day by day. But I do think it's going to be a fun month. Not quite as many games as November, which probably is good because that's a lot of wear and tear on the body. And you got finals, and we all know the week before finals is actually tougher than the finals week, just with all the stuff that our student athletes have to manage. But I definitely think that there's some really great opportunities for us to continue to grow and elevate where we are as a team and prepare us for SEC play.
We'll take one or two more if you guys have one. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.